party in the world that starts at like 7 in the morning. We got on the shuttle buses at 6:30, and everybody's queued up here. Hundreds of boats, hundreds of paddlers. There's a DJ mixing it up there. Crazy, just crazy. All right, so here we are at Chattajack 2021. Here I am getting into my boat at the starting line. It's right in downtown Chattanooga, and just as we were launching, we were the second heat. We were supposed to start racing at 9 a.m. The first heat went at 8:30. Just as we were getting onto the water, a huge fog bank was coming upriver, but if I looked further up, I could see where the sun was shining. It was already burning off pretty quick. I paddled to the end of the boat dock here and found a nice little place to perch. And I figured there's a lot of boats behind me. I'm just going to hang out here. And if I can channel my inner Sheldon Cooper, if I come back in future years, that's my spot. Stay out of it. But you know, I'm just hanging out, watching boats go by, stretching a little bit. Here, a drone comes flying over, and I'm watching that. And whoever that drone pilot was, he's got some crazy skills, because that drone was buzzing in and around a bridge. And here's the staging area. This is the more upriver bridge. We staged here, and then the main pack was over there in the middle of the river. They had a floating start. Anybody who wanted to be on the top gate, the starting line, would line up together at that first bridge, and then they would instruct people, okay, for that line to drift down before they blew the cannon to start the race. And that lower bridge there on your left is actually the starting line. So I had already determined my only goal for this race was to complete it. So I was hanging out here. I just wanted to, see everything go on in front of me. I'm just letting the camera roll here to get some of the paddlers who were just launching and coming up to the staging area to meet us. Some friendly, smiley faces here. So I'm just hanging out and just enjoy the scene here for a little bit. And I will add, somewhere out there in an epic double is Greg Barton. He paddled this race. There's Griff. Hey Griff, how you doing? And more people are paddling up. You see real racers over there kind of warming up, getting tuned up. All right, here I'm setting my GPS. They're telling the crowd that they're about to start, so that a huge line of racers was kind of drifting from that second bridge down to the first one at this point. They blow the cannon, and I kind of just took off after everybody else. I just wanted to watch the whole race transpire ahead of me, and I kind of hugged close to the left shore here for the first bit. It's kind of getting warmed up, still dusting off the cobwebs here. Sun came out and it got warm pretty quickly. Now, I was wearing neoprene underlayers here. I had on a vest and shorts underneath that sleeveless shirt and American flag shorts. Here's a little bit of race action on the river. If you do this race in future years, definitely look up. This gorge is absolutely beautiful, so don't forget to take in the scenery. It was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful day, perfect weather. I think the temperature was 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Here are these guys Follow them for a little bit. Decided they were not suitable to draft. They were going a little bit too slow for me, so I thought I'd find somebody faster to draft and possibly work with. There's some nice paddling form right there on that guy. Now you see this boat come in from the left, actually surfing a boat wake there. And I caught some boat wakes here and was able to surf them as well. That was a lot of fun. And let's see, who do we have here? There's Griff again. He and I actually have raced a number of races together over the years. And at this point, we're talking back and forth, and we decided to work together. And now you see Jim Brunton paddle up on my your screen right. I was actually passing him. He said, "Hey, is that Dave Dolak?" And I said, "Yeah." And I asked him his name. It's Jim Brunton. So I slowed down and paddled with him for a while. He's a guy, you know, I'm familiar with him in a lot of the online forums, but we had never met. So I just chatted briefly for a minute or two, and then I kind of got back into my pace. Now somebody else calls out, says, "Hey, is that Dave the Kayaker?" And I said, "Yeah." So here you see me slow down and chat and visit with that person. I forget his first name, but I know he said he was from Michigan and that he got off to a little bit too fast of a start because he was used to sort of a slower ultra-marathon start in the Missouri River 340. So he looked like, you know, he was maybe recovering a little bit after pushing too hard. Here you have me coming to the finish line where there's a building that protrudes out into the river. You cut left of it, and then you see some buoys here. Here's a guy in a surf ski. I decided I could pick off one more racer here right at the finish. They call your number here at the first buoy, and then the finish line is actually the third yellow buoy on your right. So here we're actually racing. But along to the left was just a whole crowd of people out on the dock cheering on the racers. It was really cool to have that many people cheering you on. What's funny though, when you're in the boat, you can't really distinguish anybody saying anything. It just sounds like noise to you. And I guess Sally and Mike were yelling at me to smile for the camera. They wanted to get a picture, but I couldn't hear them over all the noise and cowbells. Here we have, there I am, crossing the finish line. Somebody's sandals floating there. And, you know, I get over to the side here and turn off the GPS. Again, just a glorious day.
Thank you, thank you. I got it. Thank
Wonderful
you. Yep.
volunteers helped me carry my boat up. The volunteers for this event are phenomenal. Here is me getting my official finisher's medal. They slapped it on my neck right before I even got off the dock.
Thank you.
Here's another wonderful volunteer offering me, I don't know, some sort of sugary goose or chocolate milk. And then she said, "Would you like a water?" And I said, "Sure, I'll take a water." Here you have the overall view of the race map. Now this is from an app called Relive. It gets all this data from my GPS watch that I was wearing. That 10 miles an hour, I suspect that's where I was surfing the boat wakes. But this is what the gorge looks like from an aerial view. Over 9,000 strokes that day. And here we have the last man in. Good job! And it's awesome that these people stuck around to cheer him on. And here's the last person in. I went back and waited for the last person in. Here he comes. You know my fondness for people who come in toward the end of these events. They usually work the hardest. And oftentimes it was their first time accomplishing a major goal. I don't know this guy's story, but it was just fun to watch him come in across the finish line. It was great that so many people hung out and cheered him on. There's Joe Frohawk. Buddy, you still have me laughing. He's got it. That yellow buoy is it. He has completed it. Woohoo! And he's down. Wow, tremendous effort. Hey guys, there we have it. It's Chattajack 2021. I have no idea what my official time was, but I was pretty happy with my performance. It's a great race. The volunteers are awesome. It has some big water to it. There's some motor boats going up and down, so you have to deal with some boat wakes and whatnot. A couple of those I got a little squirrely and played it conservative, but for the most part I did fine. I ran my race. I just wanted to complete this thing, and I did that. Nutrition-wise, I would never give you this advice. I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not a doctor, but somewhere around mile 22, I realized I forgot to eat breakfast this morning. So I did this race. I don't know my time. It's going to be just around 5 hours. I got up this morning, had a cup of coffee in my hotel room. Then I had 2 Ultra Salt capsules from Pure Vitamin Club, and I opened those up and poured them into a cup of water, and I drank that. And then between getting here to shuttle and all that stuff, I had 2 more cups of coffee. And like I said, I just totally forgot to eat breakfast. But I was fine. I'm fat adapted, and fat gets a bad rap if you just think of fat as energy. You know, all of our bodies have fat, and if you're in a low carb state, your body can tap that energy in that fat and use fat as your fuel. So I was not popping goos or gels or anything. I had nothing. All I had was a Camelback with another electrolyte in there, and paddling friend Shelly gave me these things called Element. They're LMNT. They're salt packets that you put in water. That's what I had in my Camelback for the whole race. Those seem to work pretty well, so I'm playing with those 2 products, Ultra Salt from Pure Vitamin Club and LMNT or Element. It got me through this race. I feel fine. I'm not actually even hungry yet. So there you go. That's that. Good race. Everybody's telling me the same thing, that this is a horrible first Chattajack for me because the weather was perfect, the conditions were perfect, and they said don't ever expect this again. So I fully appreciate what I encountered here today. Great people, a lot of fun on the river. Surprisingly, a bunch of people recognized me and said, "Hey, Dave, you know, seen your videos, read your blog," and they were new people to me. So thank you all for saying hi. I appreciate it so much. And had body camera on, 2 cameras on the boat. It's going to take me a while to get through 5 hours of video to edit down something that you might want to watch. So give me some time to do that. But otherwise, love this sport. Take what it has to give you and pay it forward. All right, so let me give you some initial thoughts on my drive home from Chattajack. There's some car crash south of Roanoke, Virginia. So I'm just sitting here on I-81, basically stopped. So don't think I'm filming this while driving. I'm filming this while sitting behind a wheel and not driving. Chattajack is a great race. It's not what I expected. I don't know what I expected. It's impressive in terms of its size and the number of paddlers. I think they had about 700 paddlers. So it's like the biggest race on the East Coast, if you could call that the East Coast. But people come in from all over the country and all over the world, and it attracts the best paddlers. I guess Greg Barton paddled yesterday, and you know, I guess I can say I paddled the Greg Barton, but I never even saw him, let alone meet him. But he was rumored to have kicked some butt in a tandem surf ski. I don't know who his teammate was. They didn't post results yet. It's a good race. It's logistically, you know, it was a multi-days for me. It's a lot of driving. It's hotel stays. Will I be back? I don't know. We'll see how things go and see how things develop. If I go back, I would probably build myself a boat that fits into the kayak category, being 20 inches or less. And, you know, see how I do there with one of my West Side boats. Yeah, you know, it was fun. I'm glad I did it. Glad I had the experience. I think I did pretty well. I was not out to win, as I stated beforehand. I had no delusions about placing well because, like I said, these were some of the most elite paddlers in the country, and some of them from other countries with the highest end surf skis. You know, some of these are sponsored athletes. You know, if somebody's a really good paddler, some of these companies will just give these people a boat, like top of the line boats, and that's an arms race I don't care to compete in. It's not about the best boat, the fastest boat, the newest boat. It's about developing as a paddler, working on your skills. That was my biggest issue on the river, is when boat wakes came. I'm not comfortable with those yet. I'm a lot better than I was even just 2 years ago, but I never paddle in the ocean. I never get boat wakes, so it's just not something I can naturally and easily develop where I live, and that's just the facts of it. If for me to get to a beach with ocean, I got to drive 3 hours. So logistically, it's just not something I'm going to be able to train often, and that's my biggest deficiency right now, is being able to paddle through waves, especially sideways waves. I still cut them at an angle and go into survival mode. So yeah, I mean, you should do Chattajack. Just to be around that number of paddlers is impressive and inspiring. And I would say, you know, if you're watching this, you're probably not an ultra athlete and extremely good and at the top end of this sport. So for everybody else, just go do it. Just go paddle 31 miles. See what it's like to see all those paddlecraft, pass people on the river. It's fun. It's a really fun event. It's really well organized. It's, you know, the base camp, what they call the starting line, and the way they get you through registration. They give you everything you need. They give you your T-shirts, your bib number, all the instructions you need. And then, you know, the shuttle at the starting line is really nice too. You drive to the finish line, drop your car, and then they had school buses pick us all up, and we left at about 6:30 in the morning. They took us all back to the starting line. Now, this race is really a 32-mile race. Everybody said their GPS said 32 miles, so don't get fooled. When they say 31 miles, it's really 32 miles, so keep that in mind. I knew that going in. People had told me that. The other thing that nobody told me that was a little bit of a surprise, especially on that early morning drive to drop my vehicle off at the finish line Saturday morning, is if you follow your GPS or whatever you're following, it's odd, because the highway system seems like it's telling you you're going in the wrong direction, but it is correct. And then what's really weird is you actually pass through the state of Georgia. And when I passed the Georgia state line, I thought maybe I punched in the wrong address for the finish line. And then the other thing that happens is there's a time change there. So instead of Eastern time, you're 1 hour less. So people who are getting their time from their phones, they're looking and saying, oh gosh, it's like 4:35 in the morning. Did I screw up and get here too early? And it's like, no, this race is totally run on Eastern Standard Time, even though the finish line is in a different time zone. So that's a little quirk to this race that threw some people. I knew what was going on, just because I knew that time change happened there somewhere around Chattanooga. But I guess I didn't realize you have to drive through Georgia from the starting line to the finish line. And the starting line and finish line are both in Tennessee, so that's just a little bit weird. Other than that, you know, I'm going to take a couple days, work on my videos. I had a body cam on my person. I had 2 cameras on the bow of the boat. No matter what skill level you're at right now, just get out there, paddle, become better. You don't have to compete. You can do these races just to complete them, and there is no shame in that. A lot of people I talked to were basically racing against their previous year's time, and I thought that was probably the smartest thing I had heard, that they're not about the competition against others. They're about the competition with themselves, and they want to get better and better. And that's really where the focus should be in paddle sports, is improving as a paddler. Once you do that, then yes, you can get more benefit from better gear, high-end boats. But until you really optimize the engine, the rest of it is just throwing money at a problem that you can't solve. So, all right, I'll bring the race video to you hopefully later this week. This might be a big video, so it might take me an extra week, a week or two, to get it all edited together. And the shame of all this is, you know, I've got to take hours and hours of video and boil it all down to about 10 or 15 minutes. So there's a lot that gets edited out. I wish I could bring it all to you, but that's just, you know, you would never watch that. Okay, traffic is starting to move here a little bit. We are now up to 10 miles an hour. So I'm going to sign off, focus on my driving.
West Side Boat Shop Kayaks. The tradition continues.